for being here today. Yeah, I'm really excited to have the opportunity to speak to you all, share a little bit about my story and a little bit about Latino Outdoors as well. So I am gonna go ahead and start sharing my little presentation here. It's basically lots of photos, but I have lots of stories and information to share as well. So I hope you're all seeing that okay. So again, yes, my name is Aurora Perez. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm in the Bay Area on Ohlone land in Daly City right now, and I'm the San Francisco Bay Area Regional Coordinator with Latino Outdoors. And I mean, just out of curiosity, if anyone has heard of Latino Outdoors, throw it in the chat. Tell me, yes, I know Latino Outdoors. And if you haven't, today's the day that you get to learn a little bit more about it. And so just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Santa Ana, California. And so that's down in Orange County in Southern California. These are baby photos of me in nature. I'm the daughter of Mexican immigrants. So my mom moved here from Morelia, Michoacan, and my dad is from Manzanillo, Colima. And I'm the youngest of three siblings. So I have an older sister, 8 years apart, my older brother, 6 years apart. And I grew up in nature. I remember, and I'm so happy and blessed that a lot of my childhood memories are in and around nature. And these are things that I still love to do, like anytime I go to the beach, I still like volunteer to be the one that gets to be dug into the sand. And I love picnicking still. Some of my favorite memories from Davis, actually, oh yeah, I went to Davis too, but I'll get into that, is laying on the grass in the Arboretum near this like giant Chinese elm tree. And that's still like one of my favorite things to do, is just like go and lay on the grass. And so, yeah, I grew up in nature and around nature. This is some family photos. Here on the left is my family. We were camping at Joshua Tree National Park. It's like 3 hours away from Santa Ana down in SoCal. And this is kind of recent. This is, I think, 4 years ago now. And we love camping. I remember I spent a lot of my birthdays camping. And so that's something that we still like to do today. And this right picture is a picture of my dad and my nephew, taking out the carne asada in the campground. My little nephew trying to help my dad out, maybe making it harder, but the effort there of passing the generational knowledge of how to cook meat and chiles outdoors. And then this bottom photo is just a small group of my very large extended family up in Tacoma in Washington State. And so this is only like two tios and one tia. So it's, again, a very small portion of my entire family. But again, we always love being in nature, whether it's my immediate family camping, having a carne asada in the forest, or a huge family gathering in the outdoors. That's still a place that we love to be and have always been. And so I went to Davis. I'm class of 2017. I got my BS in environmental horticulture and urban forestry, and I specialized in urban landscape management. And so going to college for me was a huge thing. I'm the first in my family here in the United States to pursue a 4-year college degree. And, at first, I think that my family, my parents, they didn't really understand it. They were like, what, you're gonna go to Davis and study like plants? They were really confused about it. My dad, he's a gardener, so he grew up doing landscaping, but for him, it was very different. It was more out of necessity, trying to make a living out here, versus I very intentionally went into this environmental outdoor field because it was something that I loved and a passion of mine. And so it was always a little funny and a little frustrating too, sometimes trying to explain what exactly it was that I was doing, because sometimes I didn't even know either. But it was still a very proud moment. Lots of pressure being a first generation college student, and mostly pressure that I put on myself more than anything. My mom still is like, every year, every summer, she was like, "Oh, are you just gonna stay here or do you have to go back?" And I'm like, "No, Mom, I'm almost done. Another quarter. And I always had to go back, but she always just wanted me to like stay home. And yeah, I think it was just a very new thing. And I think about it, and the more I think about it, like my parents moved from Mexico to the United States, and that was a huge migration, a huge move, and it was very different for them, right? And I think in my own way, I was able to also make a big move, moving from Southern California to Davis. And there was a big cultural shock, a big everything. But I think honestly, it was 4 of my best years of my life, and it really helped shape the person that I am today. So here are a picture of me and my parents on graduation day. And, after college, I did a couple internships here in the Bay Area. And so I really am a big advocate for internships. I feel like they're a great way to get your foot in the door and make connections with people. And I found this internship with the Golden Gate National Recreation Area through my major advisor. So there's so many connections and networking opportunities in school, and then after that as well. And I did education and habitat restoration internships. And so I worked with the nonprofit organization in partnership with the National Park Service here. And we did exactly that. We pulled invasive species, we planted native plants, we mulched, we put up fencing, we did all that fun stuff, and also did lots of educational pieces. And then after being able to do that for a couple of years, I was able to land my dream job at that time, which was working with the National Park Service, putting on that like gray and green is what they say, that like iconic uniform. And as silly as it sounds, it really was like such a huge thing to like finally like put on that uniform. And the uniform itself has a lot of complexities about it. I loved being in that uniform, but it also came with a lot of confusion from people sometimes. I very vividly remember walking around in the Marin Headlands in my uniform, and then a Spanish speaking family being like, "Oh, that's the migra," so like that's Border Patrol. And I know that they were saying it like as a joke, but it's there's still truth behind that. And that uniform really does look a lot like Border Patrol. So that was like a complexity and a thing that I had to struggle with and really acknowledge as well. And then another time, like just being a woman in uniform, like I would get called a Girl Scout sometimes by just like random people. They're like, "Oh, what cookies are you selling?" I'm like, "I'm not selling cookies." So as many problems that the uniform caused, it also allowed me to have some sort of power and really embrace that as well. And so I was able to do a couple seasonal jobs with the National Park Service. And one of my biggest goals during this time was to really connect the Latino communities or other underrepresented communities and bring them out to these open spaces, because I was seeing that a lot of our volunteers and a lot of visitors, it lacked a little bit of diversity. And so I wanted to do the best that I could to bring some of those communities out. And so this photo on the right here is the first Latino Outdoors outing that I led in partnership with Ranger Eric here. And Alcatraz is such an iconic place to visit in the Bay Area, but there are lots of barriers to get to it. And so through Latino Outdoors, we were able to eliminate some of those barriers like cost and bring the community out there. And it was so inspiring to me to be able to be a part of that. And so once my seasons end with the National Park Service, I continued to be a volunteer with Latino Outdoors, and I was able to then find that they were having an opening for the regional position here in the Bay Area. And so then I applied. And I just got hired less than a year ago. I went from being a a partner of Latino Outdoors to being a volunteer with Latino Outdoors and now being the only staff here in the Bay Area. And so Latino Outdoors, our mission here is to inspire, connect, engage Latino communities and really all communities of all backgrounds in the outdoors and embrace culture, cultura, and family, familia as part of the outdoor narrative, ensuring that our history and heritage and leadership is valued and represented in the outdoors. And so Latino Outdoors, it's really a nationwide community more than anything, more than it is an organization. There's a very small national staff, and then I'm the only regional staff here in the Bay Area, and everyone else that makes all of the amazing Latino Outdoors outings and events happen are volunteers that are donating their time and energy and knowledge to help create opportunities for people to get outside. And so there's lots of regions across the United States. There's so many across California. There's a Sacramento team, a Central Valley team, a Bay Area team, a Texas team, a New York team, a team in Seattle. So we're everywhere and always growing. You know, Latino Outdoors was first founded in 2013, and our founder, Jose Gonzalez, he really, I don't think at that time thought that Latino Outdoors would be what it is now. You know, it started off as a blog, just a space where people, where like-minded people with similar cultural identities can come together and meet and talk and share their stories. And now, again, there's like over 24 regions in the whole United States of people coming together and building community. And so it's really grown to be something amazing and something that I'm really proud to be a part of. And here, just a little plug for our, if you are interested in joining the Bay Area group or learning more about Latino Outdoors in general, you can check out the latino.outdoors.org website or join the Facebook group and our Instagram page to keep up with some of the events that we're doing here in and around in the area. And again, because like I mentioned, Latino Outdoors really is more than just an organization. It really is a community. And so I wanted to show a quick video here that was created by a lot of the volunteers. And it's just an opportunity for you really to hear from volunteers themselves what Latino Outdoors means to them. And so I'll play this video here. Let's see.
It's Jennifer Oriana, and I am from the Colorado region.
My name is Andre Sanchez, and I represent Humboldt County, California.
My name is Anaí Naranjo, and I'm the program coordinator for New York City.
My name is Jose Cabello, and I'm from Humboldt.
My name is Carlos Miranda. I represent the San Francisco Bay Area.
I'm Marisela Rosales. I'm from Los Angeles, California.
My name is Luis Villa, and I'm the executive director of Latino Outdoors. My name is Jaron Latona, and I'm a volunteer for the Sacramento Central Valley.
My name is Juliet Lana Mejias, and I represent the Pennsylvania region.
My name is Christian Lamont, and I represent Los Angeles.
My name is Josie Gutierrez, and I represent Southwest, San Antonio, Texas.
My name is Richard Rojas, and I'm on the Latino Outdoors Advisory Board.
My name is Stephanie Campos, and I am the programs coordinator for Flagstaff, Arizona.
My name is Remigio Mateo. I go by Remy, and I am from the LA area, 213.
So Latino Outdoors to me means, first of all, family, accessibility, and a place where we can come together in a neutral ground outdoors.
Latino Outdoors means the connection to my own culture. I came to New York City as an immigrant, and it was really hard for me to go from a place where I was outdoors all the time in a different sense to a place where society often said it's not outdoors. So when I was able to connect with Latino Outdoors, it meant a way for me to kind of find my own connection to what is my culture inherently, and also just realize that where I live, New York City, it is also nature, and there are a lot of people in my situation who need that as a form of healing the way I did. So it means a lot to me.
It creates a space for families, for people of color who are not familiar with the outdoors, to to be allowed to, just kind of learn about nature.
For me, Latino Outdoors means three basic things: connecting kids and families with the outdoors. It's telling our stories as Latinos experience the outdoors, and it's creating an opportunity to support the next generation of environmental leaders and recreation leaders.
Providing opportunity for leadership, for introduction to people who might not get outdoors to be able to do just that.
A community of people who are just there for each other, and you're there to enjoy the outdoor spaces.
Having a community of leaders that are out there getting families outdoors in the LA area, in an area where most people grew up in the city that don't know the availability of the outdoors.
A community that is being built, that is learning to adapt and integrate into spaces.
Latino Outdoors means community to me.
The great outdoors is now just a little bit greater.
It's inspirational to me. I spent 12 years in a different country outside of the US, Costa Rica, up until recently. And I came back and the landscape in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the outdoors has changed so much in that time.
It means helping my leaders, my community to understand that the outdoors means anything. Green and open spaces, community gardens, going to your backyard and understanding that the outdoors can be translated in so many ways culturally, and it's really fundamental to quality of life for everyone.
Being able to be present in the parks as a Latina, and being able to take my family along with me and having them feel comfortable being in the parks, and it provides a family, bringing other people along on this journey with me so that we can be present in these spaces.
Latino Outdoors means a lot to me because I just think that it's an amazing opportunity to be able to go outdoors with people that look like me and that I can relate to, because that's just not something that I can do every day. So yeah, it's so important for me to be able to do that and enjoy nature with my people.
All right, perfect. Yeah, and so I really wanted to share that because I mean, honestly, it couldn't have been said any better, and those are just a small group of all of the volunteers that are part of Latino Outdoors. And so Latino Outdoors, it does have three main, I guess, components. And so one of them is our Yo Cuento program, which is really translates to I tell or I matter. And the idea is, that it's an opportunity for us to tell our stories, tell our outdoor adventure stories, our experience in nature. And it's open to everyone and everyone. Again, Latino Outdoors initially kind of started as a blog, and it's grown so much more from that, but it still is true to its roots. And so people can submit their blog or submit their stories online, and we share that. So it's really an opportunity to amplify people's voices in the outdoors. And then our main program, which I think is the one we're most well known for, is our Vamos Outdoors. And that's really about inspiring outdoor engagement. And so these are a couple photos of the different outdoor activities that we do. We'll do trash litter pickups. Most recently, we did this climbing event, which has been my dream since forever because I love climbing. And, I think it's a new, or it's not a new, but it's a different kind of outdoor activity that many people don't really get the opportunity to experience. And so being able to offer this type of outing free of charge, breaking down those barriers for the community was really special to me and really exciting. And we do lots of just nature walks here in the Bay Area. We're really so lucky and blessed to have so many open spaces, so many trails and preserves to visit And sometimes it's really just trying to make them as introductory as possible. We want to empower people to feel comfortable visiting these spaces on their own. And so we want to be able to provide a first-time experience that is, fun. And we don't want people to be exhausted after like a 15-mile hike and then never want to hike again. The idea is just to introduce them to a new park or start a short hike just so that they can feel more comfortable in that space. And then our third program is our Crecemos Outdoors, which is, we grow outdoors, and it's really about fostering outdoor leadership. And so we do that, internally with the Latino Outdoors volunteers, but also with the community. And so we last summer and this summer as well co-hosted a backpacking trip for youth in the Tahoe area. And these were all of the students. There were 11 students that had never been backpacking before. And even though, it was introductory, it was still pretty challenging. And so to see youth really push themselves and accomplish something that they didn't think was possible was really inspiring to me. And it's fostering that outdoor leadership, right? Because these students then can feel comfortable filtering water or know how to use a backpacking stove and gain those little outdoor skills that can be really scary at first. But while we're trying to introduce this to the youth, it's really so that, we can reach the whole family. Hopefully these youth go home and tell their parents or their family, like, hey, I know how to do this now. Let's go backpacking. Let's try to go backpacking ourselves. And so that's always the goal, is really to create a community where we can diversify the outdoors. And a couple other things that I wanted to mention and really add on in that video that were talked about briefly was the idea that the outdoors can mean anything, right? And so while we do try to introduce new outdoor activities like the backpacking or kayaking or climbing, we're also trying to exemplify what is already being done and how people are already recreating outdoors. So whether it's just doing a picnic at the local park or doing litter pickups, like those are all ways of recreating outdoors and being able to also show people that nature can be found in your backyard, on your neighborhood walk, I think is something that helps people realize that, we all are part of nature and nature is always available to us. Oops. And so I also wanted to show this other video. This one's a little bit longer, but it's really fun. Most recently, last August, a group of, I think there was like 50 of us, volunteers from across the whole United States came together and we visited the northern coast redwoods. And this is kind of like an annual tradition for Latino Outdoors volunteers to come together and meet each other because, we're all spread out and we don't always get the opportunity to meet each other in person. Although we're all friends on like social media, you don't actually get to speak to people face to face. And so last year in 2020, the leadership campout was canceled. And this last August in 2021, we were able to, follow some guidelines and be safe in the outdoor space. And so I also wanted to share this video with you all. It's part of our Yo Cuento program, which is all about storytelling. And so let me go ahead and stop sharing this screen and go over to the video. Oh, it's the wrong one. Okay. Okay. So it being my first camp out, I was really excited to meet a lot of people, but because it's still COVID times, I also felt a lot of anxiety over that. But despite that, it was really nice to reconnect and see new faces out here.
This is my second Latino Outdoors camp out. I'm so happy to be here. We're under redwoods, so meeting folks from all over, and just kind of reconnecting, bonding, and really healing from the past that we've had.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekend with some amazing people. I just doing this in communion with folks is like a once in a lifetime experience that we get to do on a regular basis, like at least annually. It's beautiful to reconnect with people, see people in the flesh, you know, especially after a very traumatic year and some change. It was great just to, you know, be in proximity of people and share experiences together.
Have you ever tried to make it rain with a group of people?
Rain?
How to do that? It's just dampness, right? Then just start doing a put a pattern. Louder, louder, louder. Keep stomping our feet now, louder. Thunder and rain. You feel it? It's getting cold. Come on, don't stop. Louder, louder.
We're out there. We are in these spaces, and we, you know, are experts in our own rights to kind of tell our stories, to feel empowered.
After a pandemic year, we have Latino Outdoors leaders from across the U.S. that have come together for this leadership camp out as an opportunity really to be in physical proximity to each other, but more importantly, to be able to visualize and really experience those connections that have been made online and over a work of years that has had that type of impact. And what's exciting is it's an opportunity to learn, it's an opportunity to be in community, it's an opportunity to catch up, it's an opportunity to reinforce and build the relationships that are essential when we do work at the scale that we do.
It's nice to see that what Jose has created is lasting, and it's something that, you know, one of my main things is you don't just want to start something, you want to also make sure that it can continue to grow. And just the camp out today is proof of that, and that meant so much to me today to see that. So all the new faces and the new spaces.
My love of mushrooms started just by exploring the redwood forest. We get a lot of mushrooms here because of the amount of rain that we get here. This is a temperate rainforest, so we get a lot of rain, and the mushrooms love the rain. And I find mushrooms very interesting because they are very communal. The fungi are very communal. They use mycelium networks underneath the ground to communicate with trees and share nutrients with trees. I got started with Latino Outdoors. I think I might have heard of them through online, but someone me presentó a Ruby and told me that Ruby was the head of Latino Outdoors here in Humboldt County. And I really wanted to join something like this in this area because Humboldt County doesn't have a lot of cultural diversity. And I was really eager and hungry to be with people that I could relate to, but also be outdoors and be learning about recreation and about like outdoor education and science. So I'm very glad that I met Ruby and that there was a Latino Outdoors Humboldt chapter already created here.
You shall know.
Fuego en mi alma. Fuego en mi corazón. Fuego, mi amor por ti es puro fuego. Fuego, mi amor por ti es puro fuego. Fuego, puro fuego es mi amor por ti.
So with the app, You record the sound and it tells you what.
Yeah, no, it'll do it live. Like you just, and then you record it because then it's so that you can go back and hear it and then compare it to the official song, and then you can confirm like, okay, it is this, or no, it was somebody in the background. Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you? Oh. Being able to find friendships and relationships that are going to last generations to come. And, I hope one day when my son's old enough, he can be a volunteer and be able to pass that on, maybe to his children. So I'm really happy that I was able to come this year. And I look forward to seeing all the growth within all the people that I've met.
When we first founded Latino Outdoors, it was that question. What does it look like? What does it feel like? How would we describe it? This idea of a broad spectrum and diversity of Latinx identity in relation to a broad spectrum of outdoor experiences. What does that look like? And this is what it looks like. The exciting part is being able to really see what it looks like in community, in laughter, in joy, in curiosity, in wonder, in reflectiveness, in co-leadership and learning. And that's what's exciting to me, because the simplicity of this, it didn't exist before, and now it does. And it does in the way that's manifested through this community.
Oh, of course. So in 2022, we're looking forward to hosting our 2022 National Leadership Camp out in Yosemite National Park, fingers crossed. And for the entire year, we're just excited to connect more people with the outdoors, inspire people with our stories, and just help foster more outdoor leadership, diverse outdoor leadership.
Okay. Yeah, and so that was a really fun experience to be a part of. That was our National Leadership Volunteer Campout this last August. And again, it was just so special to be able to experience that with everyone. And so I really wanted to show that again, just to bring in different perspectives, right, of what Latino Outdoors and what it means to diversify the outdoors. It means to not only me, but the community as well. And so, yeah, we're really passionate and excited about opportunities to help break down some of those barriers that may exist for folks, and really work on exactly that, diversifying the outdoors and helping people experience a new outdoor activity, maybe for the first time, so that they get to, have these opportunities and then hopefully then carry on and explore more on their own. And so that's a little bit about me, a little bit about Latino Outdoors. And I would love to know if you all have any questions or comments.
Yeah, thank you so much for speaking to us. Speaking to us today and taking the time to come out here and to give this presentation to us. And it's also really great to see somebody from the UC Davis community coming back again to us and talking to us again. So I'm gonna take the prerogative of asking the first question. So if you have a question, you can either put it in the chat or just raise your hand, and then we can let you speak it out loud. But so you were just talking just at the very end of your presentation there about reducing barriers to people. And another thing that really caught my ear when you were talking about your own personal experiences was some kind of identity conflict, both when you went to college and also when you were working with the Park Service. So, what kind of things were helpful for you or would be helpful for other people in supporting people and managing sometimes these conflicting identities or conflicting cultural priorities?
Yeah. No, yeah, and that's a great question, right? And something that I'm like still unpacking and learning and unlearning, which is something that I is something that is really important in life and in jobs and in this like in accepting all of your identities, right? Is that sometimes it is a little bit challenging and a little bit hard to feel like you fit in a space already. And so it does require work. And I feel that I've been really lucky that I have gone into workspaces and teams that have been very welcoming, that have been putting in the work of DEI, having DEI committees, and really broadening perspectives and challenging dominant narratives. So I feel very lucky to already be part of organizations that are doing that, and I think that's a big step that lots of other organizations can work on and evaluate and really work on creating that environment where hopefully people can feel more comfortable in expressing all of their identities. And so one thing that really worked for me was bringing my entire self to my workspace, whether it was with the National Park Service or even at school in Davis. And so, acknowledging all of my identities, bringing my culture to these spaces where maybe I thought they were lacking. And so I put it upon myself to really look for communities, look for organizations like Latino Outdoors, where I felt that I can bring that little sense of belonging and home. And then now being a part of that, I'm hopefully trying to provide that space for somebody else that may be feeling a little out of place or maybe feeling like they're not finding a group or a community that fits one or many of their identities. So yeah, I think there's always lots to unpack, and we're complex people. We have all sorts of identities, and so I think that yeah, just creating the space for myself, creating the space for myself to make mistakes, learn from my mistakes, unlearn lots of my own stereotypes or things or biases, and acknowledging those as well. So yeah, it has been really, it has been hard, but I think finding that support system and that community has really helped.
Great, fantastic. I think Kevin has a question.
Yeah.
I do. It's great to see your path because it's very similar. I actually taught a bunch of courses with environmental hort, but you were in the program after me, and then I was with the Golden Gate National Recreation Area. That's where I started my career in habitat restoration, but it was before you were there too. So it's interesting that our paths are now intersecting here. But it's wonderful what you're doing. And specifically, given that you were at UC Davis and also the National Park Service, there are two things. And one reason, I'm on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee is because I found generally in the outdoors, in outdoor leadership, we see a lack of diversity in the United States. And the National Park Service, when I was in leadership in the National Park Service, I also was working on trying to address this concern that there was a lack of diversity. And so you now having this experience with both UC Davis and with the National Park Service, it's great that you're with this, with the organization that you have. Is how would you I guess approach in our organization, Outdoor Adventures, and in the National Park Service, diversifying our leadership? What are some strategies you think that we could use?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's so funny, Kevin, that we did miss each other with environmental horticulture and at Golden Gate. That's so funny. Yeah, it is challenging, and I think sometimes it is very obvious to see that there is diversity lacking. And I think that, and it comes at very different levels. So you can see, what does the diversity look like within leadership, within maybe within actual visitors to parks? What does diversity look like in different divisions in the National Park Service, let's say? And so I found that, yeah, I think what strategies that I felt that have helped was really those having workshops and working committees that are actively trying to assess their teams and are actively practicing diverse hiring practices, which I know sometimes can be really difficult and goes to different levels in power within the organization. But being able to be transparent with those as well, so that everyone in the organization or everyone in that working team kind of knows what the mission and vision is for that specific organization, whether it's OA or Davis Group or Club or National Park Service or wherever you may be, coming together to really work out a mission statement and a vision statement and putting it together thoughtfully and intentionally, not just putting a bunch of like buzzwords that make it sound like it's really fun and inclusive, but really putting in the work to make it as inclusive and diverse as you can, as you're willing to actually make it. So, I mean, there's lots of things I think that, you can get into when talking about diversifying the workspace. But I found that diversifying the parks, the visitors, the people participating in these outdoor activities is, it's just as important. I mean, of course, like representation matters, but I'm also very, I guess I would say I'm very invested in actually diversifying the participants as well, the community members that are attending all of these outdoor activities. And so one way that we do that with Latino Outdoors is by removing those barriers, so we can provide the transportation to get people to a park. Like we will do that, and we can provide the gear that is required for backpacking trips, for kayaking, for climbing. Like we'll do that. Even those like $3, $6 parking fees at the county parks, like we want to really eliminate those barriers that people might experience to get them out there. And then once we're actually out in nature, there's other barriers, like knowledge, like how do you actually prepare for a hike? What trail do you want to pick? Like there's so many, what kind of rules and regulations does the park have? There's all these other different types of barriers to getting outdoors. And so providing that information and that knowledge is really important, just so that people can hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable and safe going into a new outdoor activity that maybe they hadn't done before. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for the question.
Oh, here we go. Michelle has a question. I think she's talking about Latino Outdoors. How can UC Davis students get involved as volunteers or participants with Latino Outdoors?
Yeah, and I mean, and there's totally lots of different ways. At UC Davis, if you're more local to the Davis, Sacramento area, there is a Sacramento Latino Outdoors team out there. So they host hikes. I think they're hosting one this Saturday, actually. And so staying connected with regional groups is a good way, you know, even if maybe you're not local to Davis and your hometown is somewhere else, maybe there is a LO Latino Outdoors chapter there too. So I think one way to approach that is definitely checking out the latino.outdoors.org website and just looking at the locations where regions are already established and seeing their regional accounts, Instagram or Facebook, to see what upcoming events they're leading. So you can participate in that way, like actually going to, whether it's a hike or whatever kind of outdoor outing that group is leading. And then also submitting your own story. Like I mentioned, we have our online blog where people can honestly talk about anything. We've had people talk about their relationship with their grandparents and nature, their hunting experience, their experience being in a STEM program and navigating that. So just sharing your stories is one way to participate, because that's what we love to amplify and share as well. And so you can get involved that way. And of course, then volunteer, you know, if you feel like very passionate about sharing the knowledge that you have and sharing your outdoor leadership or environmental education, like there's always opportunities to become an active volunteer and help lead these events, because again, like without all of the amazing network of volunteers that Latino Outdoors has, like it really wouldn't be possible to have all of the community that has been built across the United States.
Great, thank you. I think Xander has a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Thanks so much for coming out. This is really cool to hear about. Also, congratulations on your position at Latino Outdoors. That's really exciting. I guess my question is kind of tied to that. I imagine part of your role there is to, try to engage community members and to increase the number of people who are involved with your organization. And I'm wondering how you have, how people have found you and how you have found, people to build this community. And obviously, once you have people there are a lot of like steps you have to take to make it really feel like a family. But yeah, I guess I'm really curious about how you've been engaging people.
Yeah. So my role as the San Francisco Bay Area coordinator is enlarged to make those connections and collaborations with either just, the general public and community members, or other established organizations, family-centered or youth-centered organizations. And so it's a big goal of mine to keep connecting to organizations that already exist, like there's Family Connections, Next Generation Scholars, other nonprofit affinity groups like Saved by Nature is one that's out here. 510 Hikers are like a very specific East Bay hiking group. So to me, collaboration is really key. And so making those connections with people, oftentimes it's kind of like by word of mouth. Mostly it's like, because I was so lucky to work with the National Park Service and the Conservancy, and then I also worked in Marin County, like I was able to meet other organizations and other people that way. So now when I entered this Latino Outdoors position, it was really fun and easy to just like reconnect with those people. But I wanted to expand that group of organizations that we're collaborating with. So for me, it's really just about going and seeing, Googling like family-centered organizations in the South Bay. And then I look at all of these organizations and I just reach out. I look at their like contact us list and I just send emails and I do a basic introduction. And, it is challenging to then build that trust, like build the trust, build the actual connection, build events that are just like between us, and then hopefully getting people comfortable in that setting. So all of that takes a lot of time. But, I think it's really important as well to be able to build that trust so that people do feel comfortable and coming out to, whether it's just LO events or just in general, spending more time in nature. And, oftentimes people know about Latino Outdoors and then they reach out to us directly. There is a very small national staff, there's like 4 of them. And sometimes they do get a little bit overwhelmed because, they can't get to everyone's requests. But and then I'm the only staff member here in the Bay Area. But again, it's my job to connect with these people. So I always try my best to reach back out to people that are making a request, to whether it's like a webinar or leading a hike for them. I love it. I get to lead hikes for people, and I get to call that my job. Like, it's really amazing to be able to do that, and I'm so happy that I have the opportunity to do so. But yeah, it's really important when considering making these collaborations and connections with people. Building that initial trust, I think, is probably the most challenging. And so, yeah, just being, upfront with people, being honest with people, having conversations and getting to know people is really important in that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for that perspective. We do have time, I think, for one more question, and I think Katie has her hand up, so I'll ask Katie to unmute herself.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming out to this event. I've had a lot of fun listening to your story and more about Latino Outdoors. I was curious if you yourself have experienced any doubt while you were in the outdoors, and if so, how you kind of got over that hump, and if you sought outside resources or kind of looked up your own things. I'm just curious how you were able to resolve those fears or doubts in yourself.
Yeah, I definitely have. I've definitely doubted myself, especially when it comes to like what I consider like the more extreme extreme sports, like even backpacking. I'm not an experienced backpacker, and I had to lead a group of youth backpacking, and I was so scared because I'm like, I've never backpacked. How am I gonna do? So there definitely has been doubt in that, but I think that for that specific scenario, I actually welcomed that fear, and it was actually really nice to experience it with the youth, because I was able to relate. I was like, I'm really tired too. Let's take a break. But yeah, in terms of, other doubts, there has been times when I go to parks or a preserve and I just feel like I don't belong. I'm like, am I allowed to be on this trail? It feels very exclusive or very private. And luckily, I usually climb with my partner. And so I always have that someone there with me to make me feel safe and comfortable. And so I think that it is a little bit challenging sometimes. And that's how I found Latino Outdoors initially, like I was seeing that there lacked diversity. I was seeing that like even I was doubting myself and having fear sometimes. And so finding that community, I just Googled Latino. I identify as Latina, so I just Googled Latino groups, and like it was the first one that came up. And so I think that, yeah, it can be a little bit challenging sometimes, but just for me personally, I just embrace it and I go all out, and I'm like, I'm going to experience this and see how that goes. And then again, finding that support system to help me through it sometimes.
Oh, thank you for sharing your perspective and your inspirational messages to all of us. I'm sure that there's a lot of things that I'm going to keep on thinking about from this conversation moving down the road here. Thank you again so much for coming tonight.
Yeah, no, thank you all really for having me. And again, I'm so happy and so proud to be talking to everyone, as I went to Davis, and I think it's always special to be able to reconnect with community and help spread the word and share opportunities that are coming up, and yeah, just resources with people. So if you're ever feeling like you want to experience a Latino Outdoors event, I always have to tell people, you don't have to be Latina identifying, even though that is the name of our organization, like everyone is welcomed. It's just really about building community and experience something new with people.
All right, well, thank you so much. I think earlier Michelle put the name of like social media and your organization's website in there. People are interested. Maybe you could put your email in there in case anybody's interested
Yeah.
in contacting you. And then I think we'll just call it a night. Thank you everybody for being here and for being part of this event.
Yeah, so oops, sorry. Yes, I'll throw my email in the chat, and if you all, have any questions or want to connect later on, yeah, please feel free to send me an email, and yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you again for being here and for having me.
Thank you.